So there's this stupid thing happening on YouTube. Please contain your shock at the concept that will probably still be a thing by the time this episode runs, and if not, we'll just call this a historical document, and is to my eternal annoyance video games adjacent enough that I can't really avoid mentioning it on this series. I can, however, avoid mentioning the principals by name, so please enjoy a selection of classic gaming sound effects whenever I mention the name. No, I don't think the joke will get old. It's not that long of a show. Anyway, is this person who's apparently a millionaire based on recording himself making dumb noises, pretending to be frightened by that night trap but at a Chuck E. Cheese game, and shouting dumb racist things during multiplayer streams, and pretty much just being a giant embodiment of me feeling very apprehensive about getting back into this whole business, and also just so very, very tired. But whatever, I'm getting paid to do this, so it's not like I'm really interested in dunking on the dude's money. In any case, despite controversy, this is mostly propelled to be the most subscribed person on YouTube, which matters, I guess, for some amount of time, but recently it's been looking like he'll get pushed down to the number 2 position by another channel, and so he's been campaigning and looking to get other channels to campaign on his behalf to get more subscribers so this does not happen. So far, so good. You know, save for the whole obnoxious seems to say racist stuff by accident kind of a lot, but, you know, people watch whatever they want to watch, free and open internet and all that. But that's kind of the thing. See, at some point, the whole subscribed meme got turned around by both its progenitor and a baffling number of seemingly sincere supporters into supposedly being not simply about getting some weirdo subscriber count back up, but a battle for the soul of YouTube and the future of the free web, whereby it's your duty, if you value either of those things, to spread the gospel of subscribing to and make sure that another channel does not become number 1. At issue, apparently, is that the supposed competitor, hold on, are we sure that this isn't like some WWE bullshit where they're both in on it and just working it for the heat? Yeah, I know it doesn't matter, I'm just asking. Anyway, the supposed competitor is not only thought to have pumped up their numbers in a less than on-the-level fashion, on YouTube? Never! Perish the thought. Even the on-the-level parts, it's a corporate-owned, slickly produced site that mostly posts movie clips and music videos, whereas this channel is an independent operation in the more classical, original flavor YouTube model featuring unique, self-produced content, largely featuring a braying man-child shouting at, because of, or during video games, but, there but for the grace of Bob go I. And so, keeping as the face of YouTube, as opposed to some corporate managed channel, is supposedly a way to strike back against the increasing encroachment of other big companies and TV networks and Hollywood studios and their channels into what had been a pristine, wide open land of opportunity for independent creatives. And good lord, are you guys really buying this shit?
We should all be such independent thinkers.
Be an independent thinker.
I mean, I'd almost prefer if it actually was the Occam's razor worst case scenario thing where people don't want this specific channel to break number 1 because it's based out of India and they don't want the algorithm to become overly influenced by South Asian as opposed to Western cultural tastes in terms of what gets traffic. But no, it seems like people really are ride or die for anti-corporate freedom fighter, which is stupid even for a YouTube cult of personality thing, and that's pretty dumb, I should know. Now, setting aside the fact that the only reason even qualified as a not corporate-backed channel or producer himself at this point is that Disney shit-canned his ass for doing a racism a couple of years ago and he had no other option but to be independent, the idea that the big bad sellouts in charge of YouTube don't want as the face of the site and they'd rather he get knocked out of number 1 because it'll make it easier for them to turn YouTube into a wholly corporate-dominated sterile money machine is ridiculous on its face. You see, guys, if you've actually watched how tech companies have comported themselves over the last decade, you'd know that unless YouTube is run by actual chimpanzees, which, okay, possible, you'd know they're thrilled to have or rather any popular, constantly in trouble for doing gross, obnoxious shit figure like that as the face of the platform, because that is what's going to make it easier to turn YouTube into a wholly corporate-dominated, sterile money machine.
You just blew my mind! Our minds have been blown!
Now, no, not necessarily just specifically, but the culture of YouTube, that level of content being the biggest thing on the site, is indicative of, is symptomatic of a broader internal rot that includes the proliferation of conspiracy monger and alt-right hate channels, the dumpster fire comment sections, terrible enforcement and creator safety measures against thereof, the abject hell creators and producers of marginalized backgrounds have to go through. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, it's all right there. See, every tech company with a community aspect to it has had to figure out a way to manage the fact that the internet has become a playground for abusive assholes with lots of time on their hands. And most of those companies have turned out to be really goddamn bad at that, either through ineptitude, malevolence, or both, because actually managing enforcement with reason, case-by-case engagement, and adaptive, proactive solutions is hard and requires staffing and investments and hard choices, whereas the extremes of either just not having a community function or, more popularly, giving up and allowing totally unenforced free-for-all excused through some high-minded TED Talk bullshit about commitment to free speech libertarianism is easy. Plus, you get the value-added feature of eventually getting to point to the smoldering wasteland of hate and bile created by that approach or lack of approach to community management and say, well, clearly the hands-off, independent, creator-centered, free and open Wild West version of the internet or YouTube or Twitter or whatever didn't work because you end up with, well, all of this crap. So by comparison, the whole thing being filled up and run by and for the big entertainment companies would really be an improvement by default, yeah? Oh, and we also get a lot more money that way, but total coincidence. I mean, what else are we gonna do? At one point, that thing was the #1 channel, for Pete's sake. Now look, YouTube evolving into more or less another corporate streaming platform in some form or another is probably inevitable and seems to be what the people in charge of it want to have happen. And from where I'm standing, stuff like the subscribe to nonsense isn't holding that back, it's getting it there faster. If you want to support the OG, free, open, creative spirit of that site or other sites or the internet period, seek out and subscribe to smaller channels, new faces, content creators from smaller, marginalized backgrounds who get less exposure, people who stream or stream about offbeat alternative games, offbeat alternative other things, and things like that. I mean, just look at that H-Bomber Guy charity stream for mermaids as one example. That's how you champion real freedom and independence on the internet. Or, you know, maybe just aim higher than people whose main positive trait is not being Logan Paul.